As you might already know, Team GB did well, folks. They came fourth in the Tokyo Olympics. So naturally, that means that, far from celebrating the success of our nation and the Olympians from it, the left have decided to point, sneer and call it names instead. The Guardian are of course running with this particular story that argues that Team GB are still too white and suburban. That's according to Sport England board member Chris Grant, who says Team GB is not representative of the diversity of Great Britain. Grant has previously argued and spoken about structural racism in British sport. That's from The Guardian as well, arguing it's so deep and pervasive that it amounts to a kind of apartheid. And I'm sorry, but this kind of hyperbole isn't helping anyone at all. And I doubt anyone that just followed England through the Euros, for example, would reckon that there's evidence of an obvious apartheid in British sport when they were cheering on our players. But the chief executive is reported by The Guardian of Team GB of saying that actually the games were hailed as the Rainbow Olympics. I'm sorry if that's your defence, God help us. Back in my day, right? And I mean by back in my day, all of, 2 minutes ago? But back in my day all the same, there was this really novel idea. There was this novel idea that it didn't matter what the colour of your skin was, what your sexuality was, which colour of the rainbow you represent in this Rainbow Olympics. All that mattered was that you had to be of Olympic standard. Your abilities had to surpass most of we plebs for you to be able to compete in a particular sport and be supported by Team GB's teams throughout. Hunky-dory, happy days. And look, personally, right, I'm all for being more meritocratic by not placing identity first and having talent as a slight aside that you only deal with after proving somebody based on their immutable characteristics. It should be front and centre. And according to the latest available census anyway, 86% of the population of England and Wales was white. You've got people from Asian ethnic groups at 7.5% and black ethnic groups at 3.3%. Now, that'll have changed over the last decade, I've no doubt, but not wildly, right? So it still is representative of the population. And I just want to ask these people, at what point do you say enough is enough? At what point will you say, okay, well, we're going to just let people based on their talents and whether or not they've got the skills that we need to play in the Olympics and all the rest of it, regardless of sexuality, gender identity, whatever you want to list in this long identity-based soup. It doesn't matter. Whether or not you're good matters. Whether or not you're the cream of the crop in Britain matters. So I think you've got to keep in mind all of that when probing the question around something in British life not being especially diverse enough. Because what would it mean to be diverse enough? Would imposing quotas on the number of white athletes that are accepted into Team GB be enough to satisfy these activists? Because I am afraid to say that I can think of nothing more patronising to black people, to gay people, to trans people, to women, to those from different socio-economic backgrounds. The patronising view that you only got there, Sonny Jim, because of a diversity quota, that you weren't good enough to get there off your own steam. That can't be the narrative. Sure, let's have a conversation about how we need to give working class kids, black and white, a better, I think, belief system in themselves, a belief that they can achieve things, a belief that they can apply for these programs and be accepted. Sure, I'm all for that. Believe me, I'm all for that. But this kind of divisive nonsense, it gets us nowhere. These are not, I'm afraid, the comments from people who wish our nation well. Reasoned relies upon grassroots donations from people like yourself that want us to continue producing our high quality, free thinking content. So please do consider clicking the link and donating, no matter how big, no matter how small, because it really does ensure that we can keep on keeping on